We're doing 2 buffets today. Jamie just got done painting that one white. It's really bright, you can hardly see it. So this one here used to have a little hutch top. We're gonna eliminate that because it wasn't part of the original piece. It looked kind of weird on there. This one here, this is what I wanted to show you. So this buffet here, the entire side right here was peeling away. This leg was hanging out here at a crazy angle, and anytime you moved it, you had to be real careful not to bump that or drag it because it wanted to pull away from the whole buffet. So sometimes if you don't have a big clamp, a ratchet strap is one of my favorite tricks. This works on dressers, drawers, chairs. They're amazing clamps and they go all the way around. So while the strap's on there holding everything nice and tight, I'm gonna get this nailed back up. You can see it had these tiny little finishing nails in there before. I'm gonna go back in with 18 gauge pneumatic nail, and that's gonna hold in there nice and tight. So Jamie put a thin coat of shellac on here before we got started, but obviously she missed some spots. She didn't do 100% coverage, just a real quick spray down where she thought there might be some problem areas. And all of these little spots started popping up after, so we're hitting them real good with shellac. This is why a lot of times we wait to shellac until we've actually painted a coat on, because sometimes you just don't know and you'll be all day trying to get full coverage of shellac on here. So this right here is the reason I always suggest gluing your dovetails together instead of nailing them together. Someone's gone through and tried to hammer nails down through here, and then once they realized that they split all the wood up, what they did was they put like this hot glue or silicone or something all along here. So now what I'm gonna have to do to fix this is, I could either dowel through the front of this. I'm just gonna actually use the pneumatic nailer and nail into that. But now I'm gonna have to go fix that because this drawer, without replacing this whole side, those dovetails are shot. I'm gonna put some wood glue in here just to help it out where I can. I'm not sure how much the wood glue will actually stick because there's not really a flat surface there anymore. And then this is just a 24-inch clamp that I picked up at Harbor Freight. I think it was like $8, $9. It may have been 12 at the most, but super handy for doing drawer work like this. I've got some Dap Patch and Paint. It's a lot cheaper than wood putty. It's not stainable, but I find that we get real good repairs. It's great for covering up these little staple holes or little divots and things that I don't, imperfections. And since we're painting over this and not staining it anyway, it'll be all right. It's a good, easy fix. So we're gonna do a preemptive strike and see if we can shellac some spots like this and keep them from bleeding through beforehand. We still may have some stuff pop up, but I'm just gonna give this top a good coverage with the Zinsser shellac. Right here on the front of this drawer, I've got some peeling veneer. It's got a crack in it that's pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna glue it and clamp it. And someone's already tried to glue it, so it's got a little bit of goopiness, but I think I can still get it to lay down a little better. And at least not, you can kind of hear it. At least not be flappy like that. I'll let that sit for a minute and run down in as much as it can. Then I'll wipe it off on the face of it before it dries and clamp it.
Since I painted the little buffet in White Swan, I want to add a buffet with a little bit more color. So I'm going with Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in Moody Blue. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about mixing milk paint. I know we have a bunch of videos on it, but it's my #1 question, comment, concern is how to mix it and how to control chippy or how to get more chippy. Once I really started using milk paint on a regular basis, I invested about $20, maybe a little bit less, and bought this inexpensive immersion blender. This is the best way to mix your milk paint. You can pick them up on Amazon. I'll have Zeb drop a link in case you're interested and don't feel like heading out to Walmart. But seriously, you can go to Walmart, Target, anywhere. You can pick these up really inexpensive. It helps mix your milk paint and not have chunks. If you're not wanting to invest in one of these, then I would suggest using a wire whisk and using warm water, and then just keep whisking until the clumps are out. It takes a good long time to get those clumps out by hand, but you can do it. If you do happen to get a chunk out and you're painting and you see it, don't freak out, just let it dry and sand it. It'll give it a fun little pock mark. But definitely if you want a smoother consistency, you're gonna wanna use an immersion blender. Let's talk about chippy. Chippy is really something that I love. Not everybody wants it. If I want no chippy at all and just a little light distress, I don't use milk paint. I use chalk paint or DIY paint. You absolutely can get a lightly chippy, lightly distressed piece with milk paint, but you need to use plenty of extra bond. I like to just add a splash of it just so that way I get a little bit of chippy. And then I get the people that are like, mine didn't chip at all and I didn't use any extra bond. Sometimes if your piece is too dry, it just soaks that paint up and it won't chip. But here's a few tips. If you didn't get enough chippy, try reactivating the paint with water. Maybe even get out your blow dryer or heat gun and see if you can reactivate it and get it to chip. Something I also like to do is I will go over the top of the milk paint. I'll spray it with lacquer, just like in a few areas that I want it to chip. And then before the lacquer is all the way dry, when it's just a little bit tacky, I put a little bit more milk paint over it, and sometimes you can get it to chip with that. So there's just a few ideas that might help you. One thing you need to know with milk paint, you can't always control it. The more you use it, the more you figure it out. But even I sometimes get surprised by it.
All right, while that door is drying with the veneer, we're gonna go ahead and get this painted. Oh, I got a squat to be in frame with Jamie.
Are you saying that I'm short?
Yes, very short. Ooh, you got this mixed up thick.
Oh well.
That's all right, we'll get good coverage first coat.
So milk paint is really forgiving. When you sand over the top of this, it'll sand super smooth and you will almost see no brush strokes. The lighter colors, you have to do more coats to get full coverage, but these darker colors cover in 2 coats. Usually 1 and then a little bit of touch up.
You tell when you need to reload your brush because it'll start dragging.
So we're gonna put the second coat on this. This is what one coat looks like. It's a little streaky, but when you put that second coat on, it covers it right up. Next step is distressing. It didn't chip a lot along the edge here. It's kind of flaking off, and so when I sand that, that'll all come off and we got a little crackle. So we'll see what she does. This buffet lived in our garage long enough that it got some white overspray on it. When I distressed over the milk paint, some of that white came through. So instead of repainting the whole thing and wanting to poke my eye out, I'm gonna be using the DIY white wax, and I'm gonna white wax the whole piece, and that'll make those white flecks that are coming through incorporate into the piece. I like to kind of frame my piece out with white wax, and then Zeb comes behind me and he will usually clear wax it. We don't wait because I don't want it to be too harsh, and we kind of tag team and we'll get this whole piece done. Woo. I'm throwing the pixies.
That's not gonna work.
It will when it's not at an angle.
I'll have to put the knob on it.
Yeah, well, and we're at an angle, so it doesn't want to stay
When your
shut.
driveway's tilted and you don't have the hardware on it. Oh my goodness.
Good luck. May the force be with you. I got the
All right, I'm leaving it. I'm walking away. We'll get that fixed in a minute. I gotta hurry up and get wax on all these white parts before they start drying out. So I'm not gonna wait for this to dry before we kind of hit it with its first buff. We've got a lot of excess wax on here because we're using the 2 colors, the clear and the white. So when I come back through, it'll get rid of all these little streakies and things, and the white will just stay down in all the little cracks, and then we'll have a little bit of hint of white where Jami's put it, and then the clear wax will just seal it up real nice.
Okay, so I'm now coming back behind here with a lint-free rag. I picked these up for like 79 cents at IKEA, and I'm just gonna buff this wax on, and I'm buffing in the direction of the grain of wood, so it doesn't look like all weird and splotchy.
I can't see if I'm in though.
Yeah, I think you're in.
You see me over on the side?
Yeah, I see you. I think I have more space, but we're good.
It's so big, I'm having to squeeze in over here.
How's the weather over there?
It's pretty good. It's a little hot.
Yeah, it's better inside the house. I really think that the white wax transformed this buffet. It needed some depth. One solid chippy color just wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah, it turned out really nice, even though we didn't get a lot of chipping from the milk paint. Once Jami forced some of the chipping to happen, it really allowed that white wax to get down in some of these cracks and crevices, and even a few brush strokes here and there, and made it look really old and aged.
You know, for some people it's all about the dark wax. For me, it's all about the white wax. I really think it's personal preference. I just like the softness of it, and it just kind of lends to my style. I hope that we gave you some tips. If you still have questions about milk paint though, or you've tried it, it didn't work out, comment below and I will answer and help you any way that I can. It took me about 5 or 6 milk paint projects before I fell in love, and now I would say probably every third project I do is with milk paint. Sometimes every project, it just depends on the mood that I'm in. Here's the products we used today. Sweet Pickins Moody Blue. We used a little bit of extra blonde.
Extra blonde, that was me 20 years ago.
When you had hair.
There you go. Sorry.
We used a little bit of extra bond. We used white wax, clear wax, Paint Pixie wax brushes, and the Paint Pixie 1 3/4 brush. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's everything.
All right, we also sanded with our orbital sander, and we used 220 sandpaper to get it nice and smooth. What are you doing?
I can't see myself in the shot.
It's really smooth. I could take a nap on it.
If you know anyone who likes huge painted buffets, be sure to share this video with them, because we got one right here.
Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more
DIY.